What is the best example of just because you can doesn't mean you should? Name your kid idiotic names. You have angered Diamond Rainbow Jizz. Don't make fun of my son Counter-Strike 1.6. I knew a girl named Diamantina. I don't know what her parents were thinking, but I wonder if she ever changed her name. It's Justina now. Play videos on high volume at public places, or talk with someone on speaker. Unless you're arguing, I gotta hear both sides. I know whose side I'm on. Gotta judge those random people. Posting on social media that you're going on vacation. A high school friend of mine did that a couple years ago. Multiple posts on Facebook announcing she and her husband were going to Bermuda for 2 weeks. They came home to a burglarized house. There was actually an infamous story about this a while back. A couple of parents were taking a school to court over something I don't remember. It had something to do with their son. Well, the school was going to settle out of court for about $80,000 as long as the family signed an NDA about the outcome of the court case or any of the events related to it. Cue to a week later, they were planning to go on vacation with the money, but they made the oops of telling their kids, and the oldest child, a girl at the age of like 17 or 18, decided to blab on Facebook about how her former school was going to pay for their vacation. Well, the school saw the tweet, forwarded it to the lawyers, and suddenly the family isn't getting a dime. Bank loans and credit cards. Just because you're approved doesn't mean you can afford it. I use my card for everything. I have 3 and pay them off each month. So far, 3 years in, and at least $4,000 reward to me in cash and 0 interest paid. Loans are terrible, but if you keep to a budget, cards can be a good source for $60 a month and can improve your rating for free. It's surprisingly easy to fit a light bulb in your mouth, but almost impossible to remove it without it shattering. Every time someone mentions this, my jaw aches for a few minutes because there's a part of me that desperately wants to try it. I don't know how much longer I can hold it off. A year? A month? The call of the bub cries even louder for me. Blindly trusting traffic laws as a pedestrian. Yes, if you get hit, it's the driver's fault. But all it takes is for one driver not paying attention to potentially end your life. You may be right, but you're still dead, is my saying for this situation. Hoard toilet paper. Yeah, tell that to all my neighbors who have so much freaking TP that they are arranging TP roll hunts in their yard and brag about it all over Facebook, while I'm forced to go begging for TP from the other place in town that is selling it, aka a restaurant. Me, contemplating buying an axe this weekend so I can do axe throwing in my backyard. Why? Because I can. I just imagine getting a call from my brother and it made my stomach drop. Hey, I brought a new axe. Cool. Gonna go chop some wood for fire? Nope, gonna throw it. Axe throwing is actually perfectly safe if you do it safely and up to standard. That device allowing an Amazon carrier to unlock and open the front door of your home to deliver packages. Either one of those self-professed genius tech bros in Silicon Valley didn't think this through, or they're incredibly naive about how easy something like that could be abused. Eating the whole darn pint of ice cream. My lactose intolerance says no, but my everything else says yes. Cheating. Relationships or in general? Mainly toward relationships, I suppose. Oh, good, because I'm cheating nightmare when I play Monopoly. Bullying is a big one. I tried to bully a person once, but they just laughed. Apparently, I'm not a convincing bully. That's how I found out that the bullying career is not for me. The competition was too tough in my school. In the end, I finished at the victim side of things and required professional assistance from the teachers to enforce anti-bullying regulations. Disney making crap live action versions of classic animation. Imagine a live action Toy Story. I'd rather not. When Mrs. Potato Head eyes rolled out, there's a trail of blood wherever she walks. Just because my jerk can stretch to 8 inches and a raccoon can go through a 4-inch hole does not mean I should shove 2 raccoons up my butt. Cannibalism. It's actually legal because no country in the world actually has a law against it. In fact, the laws were against you murdering someone, not eating them. If somebody slashed their own arm off with a sword and allowed you to eat it, you could. Should you though? No. A lot of states in the US just turned it into a desecration of a corpse charge or other loophole as a way to still lock the person up. But no cannibalism law. Having kids, the best answer here. By far. So many parents breed only because the genitalia allows them to. Most of these people shouldn't even be responsible for a hamster. I mean, there's nothing physically stopping you from eating poop, but why would you? Your taste buds and nose physically stops you from doing it, but a twisted mind does not care. Personal anecdote. I was with friends and we were just hanging around having pizza. I challenged them to put a bunch of different sauces and toppings on a slice of cheese pizza because I'll eat any weird food when challenged. The gauntlet include sriracha, horseradish, honey mustard, cottage cheese, and whipped cream. I downed it and was sick for the rest of the night. No vomiting, but it was not fun. Never combine sriracha, whipped cream, and horseradish. Just because I can usually have an iron stomach does not mean I should eat everything I'm challenged to eat. Glad you didn't eat geckos to learn that. I've heard of an article that a guy was challenged to eat a live gecko. Here's a script from the article. He began vomiting green bile. His urine was black and his stomach was so badly bloated that he looked 6 months pregnant. His lungs also started to fill with fluid and fluid leaked from his stomach. His testicles were swollen up to grapefruits and there was fluid leaking from them. His family said he basically rotted from the inside out. That's such a painful way to die. I could have done something just as stupid when I was a bit younger as well. I'm glad I matured since. Pulling out your phone and taking unsolicited videos or pictures of people in public places for the entertainment of the internet. Once had a girl take pictures of me, then laugh to herself while I was having a panic attack on the train. It's definitely not a nice feeling. That's not freaking cool at all. I know you probably know this, but there are much kinder people in the world than that little girl who did that. I'm so sorry to hear that. Just because you can bomb raid kids with homework during quarantine doesn't mean you should. Just because you can fight off 50 hamsters at once doesn't mean you should. This might be unpopular, but there's no need to be a dick to cops. I had a fight with my wife and neighbors called them. I asked them in and offered them iced tea. They ignored all the weed and bongs laying around my house. Every time I interact with them, I act respectfully and it goes okay. As a rule, I don't backtalk people who have a loaded gun on them. I used to skate a lot. When a security guard asks me to move on, you move on. They're pretty decent people trying to make a living. A lot of skaters like to act tough by squaring up to them, but they just end up looking like losers. Try growing a mustache in the US Army. Under Army Regulation 67-1, you can, if you are in any leadership position. Good luck. That's weird. What does the Army not like about mustaches? I do see what the Army's issue with it is, but in the Navy, it just makes the guys look like pedophiles. So I wouldn't recommend for that reason alone. Having lots of children when you're not financially able to. I have never understood this one. I read an article recently about some complete fool who has a wife and 5 children in one room over lockdown. Not a one-room apartment, just a one room for them all to live in. OMG, that's not humane at all. If anything, it's a heaven for the spread of disease in that enclosed space. Buying a Bluetooth speaker to play in your backpack. There's a special place in heck for hikers and mountain bikers who do this. Yeah, I came to the mountains so I can hear your crappy, tinny music. Watch murder or freaked up videos on the internet. People go through years of therapy to forget that crap. And nowadays, it's like, oh, cool, an execution video, and just click it to pass the time. Congratulations, you're going to have to live with those images etched into your mind forever, and you put them merely because you were bored. I don't know. I kind of think it puts your life into perspective to see what violence is like when you don't live in a place where you're not as high risk. It will haunt you though if you just sit there all night looking at different videos. Sleeping with friends. Just don't ever. Sleeping with friends can be a bucket list fun. Sleeping with a friend is where it gets complicated. I was going to say, I've slept with plenty of my friends and that was that. We're still friends, just not like that anymore. Needlessly bringing politics into every situation. It's very polarizing. It can turn a potentially good conversation into an argument almost instantly. Why ruin something by bringing in antagonizing political views? Just because you have so little personality that you feel the need to start arguments to be perceived as interesting doesn't mean you have to. Buying lunch or dinner every day, especially when you're not able to save money or have debt. That crap adds up and people don't realize it because it's food. I and some friends used to roll up leaves and paper and other leaves we found in the wood, get a lighter and smoke them. I still wonder why sometimes. Protesting the coronavirus restrictions. I think that's a pretty good current example. Do home chemistry. A long and stupid story. 2nd degree burns on my face. Most crafts on the internet. 5-minute crafts intensifies. I never felt so much solidarity with my fellow man as I do after I hate watch those videos and then read the comments section. Drunk calling your ex. I used to do this. I would call and we would chat and laugh for about 20 minutes every few months. One day I said, well, guess I'll talk to you next time I'm drunk. Never occurred to me that call after that was we never spoke again. Abuse your position or power. I would say the idea of power basically only exists because people abuse it. If people in position of power didn't use it to take advantage of other people, then it wouldn't be seen power. It would seem like responsibility. If you have a lot of influence or resources and you use them in a just way to help out people and don't put yourself first, then it seems like you have a big impact, but it doesn't seem powerful. Or it seems powerful because you have the option to abuse people or take advantage of them and didn't. We have an innate sense of fairness. We're wired to feel empathy and have a very fundamental sense of when things are equal or fair and when they're not. That also means we have a very good idea of what influence or control we have over other people and what we can make them do. But if our feelings of empathy and fairness were even stronger and we couldn't help but treat people fairly and evenly, then what good would power be? It's only because it's possible to abuse that power which makes it worth chasing. And unfortunately, that means that powers will be sought after the most by people who want to abuse it the most. Have more kids than able to handle. This is so important. You're bringing a whole human into the world, not dolls you can display on a shelf. Just being quiet sometimes. My brother had passed away. I was out of the country, so I had to return. In doing so, I went to a favorite restaurant that we both worked at as teenagers. Same hostess, most of the same workers even later. Upon leaving, one of the waitresses says, "Please tell your brother I said hi. He was so great." I just smiled at her and told her I would. Not to lie, but her comment was so innocent and she was at work. No reason to bring up a tragedy in turn to make her feel bad. Eating the entire packet of sugar cookies. It's a bad idea. Trust me. Is there a story behind this? A story? Yeah, me eating an entire package of sugar cookies the other day. The stomach ache was real. Making a cover of Hallelujah. I don't mind the attempts. I do hate when there's a ton of unnecessary embellishment. It can really ruin the song. I think people see the bare bone frames that have a lot of space and think, this is a great time to really show off all the things I can do with my voice. It wasn't. It's a good chance to show off a few things, but the warbles and whatnots can really wreck the format of the song. Underage, unprotected sex. I'm no prude, but it's one of those things that you just shouldn't do if you can't fully deal with the consequences yourself. If you can't drive yourself to the local pharmacies to get condoms or to a center to get tested if you don't want to display crap to your parents, you shouldn't be doing it. Not to ruin the fun, but STDs now are rampant and things like syphilis, which depending on the person can have little to no side effects, can kill unsuspecting young people suddenly years later. The risk to benefit ratio isn't really in your odds. Not to mention underage pregnancy. Getting pregnant underage isn't a crime, and people shouldn't be bullied for it. But it can mess with your life, especially if you're in high school, and you got plenty of time to figure that stuff out later. Just something to think about. Face tattoos. A monk in our culture is hugely regarded. You can earn the right to wear one, but it's a chin to lip tattoo that women get that signifies that mana or honor within the family. One of our members of parliament got one a few years back. Manipulating weak minds. It's kind of amazing how easily people will follow a load of crap with the mildest sign of auticity or officialness. I've done some event work. Anybody can rent a hotel and host an event. And when they do, people will sit like sheep and listen to whatever you tell them because of symposium or whatever. Cloning dinosaurs. That might turn out bad. Might turn out great. Ever think of that? For real. I don't think Jurassic Park is a factual representation of what would happen if we cloned dinosaurs. My patient masturbating while I'm charting in the room. I have questions. I work psych and this has never happened to me. I'm not actually a part of psych. I'm with adult critical care and I sit one-on-one with people that are confused or safety concerns for one reason or another. Dementia with a behavioral disturbance is my bread and butter. Free speech, but using it to say something hateful. Your rights end when others begin. Masturbating when you have nothing to do. A friend of mine did it 6 times in a day and was so sore for a few days. I understand what you're saying and your comments are valuable, but I'm going to ignore your advice. Abusing or forcing your kids to do what you want just because you can doesn't mean you should. Delaying giving money to people that need it so that you can put your name on it. I'm getting a direct deposit. He still sent a signed letter informing me of his generosity. I shredded it and now it lies the rat cage. Anything. Laws are literally a social construction. Sure, a cop can arrest you or shoot you, but the only thing keeping people from killing each other are mental barriers that can be undone. Instead of peanut butter and jelly, and hear me out, peanut butter and guacamole. Name calling people, being a dick to others and saying, it's just a joke, and the famous, it's just a prank, bro.